expertly in face-to-face education. I started it because of my own experience as a founder of HeyU. So I started HeyU with a co-founder 5 years ago, and we, through the course of the last 5 years, made so many mistakes, like massive level. So many mistakes that actually, a lot of them were avoidable. And we built an okay, quite a good company, but we could have built a global company, we could have built something that was much stronger, much faster, had we not made all these mistakes along the way. And so I looked as a founder to get advice. And so I tried to line up mentorships, and I found that some people were really generous with their time and gave me lots of time and advice. But those people often weren't the right people, because they either did it many years before and therefore had time now, or they hadn't been as successful as I wanted to be, which is why they have time. The people I really needed to get to was like, if I wanted to learn about digital marketing, I really need to get to Mark, who runs marketing at Showco, probably the most successful e-commerce business at using social media to marketing and grow revenue. But I could never get to someone like Mark for more than maybe a half cup of coffee, just because he's so busy. But that's the kind of people that you need to get to as a founder. You need to get to leaders at technology companies who are growing fast and who are doing it right now. And so that's what Zambezi is. So we created a structured program so that other founders and leaders can access the best minds of the industry. So people like but things like Mike Knapp, who's the co-founder of Shoes of Prey, Andre, who heads up growth at Canva, who's grown that business to, over the past 4 years, to more than 50 million users. There's no way you can get a day with Andre. But he wants to share his skills, so he's created a one-day growth marketing workshop, which I actually did last week, and it was unbelievable. So that's what it is. So it's leaders from existing technology companies who are either driving marketing, growth, and leadership, cybersecurity, a whole range of things right now. And we've created these one-day, very accessible, structured programs so that everybody can get access to those skills. So myself, I run one on capital raising, and these guys will run one on their own area of expertise. So tonight you can ask them about their workshops if you're interested in doing them, but also we want this to be a really valuable event for you. Even if you don't do the workshops, please try and get as many questions as you can answered tonight. So I'm going to start by introducing Robert. First. So Robert is a sales and marketing guru. So he's more like, I really could have used Robert when I was at HeyU, that I tried to get Robert, but he's a consultant and being a startup, even though we're established, couldn't really afford to bring in a consultant. So biggest challenge that we had at HeyU was building a really good sales funnel of cafes. So how do we get all the good funnel of cafes to hear about HeyU and to come to us wanting our product? And then how do we build a funnel to turn those cafe customers into sales and coach and build a methodical sales team to close their sales? And how do we do that with very low cost? That is what Robert is an expert at. He's written a best-selling book called Better Selling Crowd, and he consults a lot of much bigger companies than ours on how to build a really powerful sales funnel at low cost. So Robert's going to talk for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go through everyone else. And please think about questions you might have about your own sales funnel or your own sales challenges or how you could. So,
thank you. Hey everyone. So who here's got a sales funnel in their business already? You? Who hasn't heard of what a sales funnel is? Cool. Okay. And who needs to get one in place? Okay, cool. So essentially, when we're talking about a sales funnel, we're talking about people who haven't heard of you before coming into your website, making an inquiry, making a purchase online, depending on where you're at, and then kind of coming out the other end as a customer. So that whole process of them not knowing about you all the way through to them ending up being a paid client. So the way that I approach it is in a very structured and rigorous format. The reason for that is I've worked in dozens of industries. I've been able to work out just a very step-by-step process of how to make a sales funnel that converts well. So I think what we find is that when you look at someone's analytics, most companies have very high bounce rates. So that means that people come to your site and don't do anything. They don't buy what you're selling or they don't inquire. So basically the process that I follow is a 4-step process. The first one is that we have to find that starving crowd to begin with. So it's really getting laser focused on who that ideal client is, why they're coming to your site, what their pain points are, and then making sure that the site describes that so they have a good experience. So the next step after that, we then go to really making sure that that starving crowd, when they come to your site, is really happy to, that they feel that they're being heard. So that's what we call the entree stage. And so basically that sales funnel can look like a lot of different things. So I've done a lot of work in book marketing, webinars, just straight lead generation, selling on the spot. So for every business that's going to look different, what that sales funnel looks like. But in the course we actually go through all those different types of sales funnels that are possible and which one's going to work the best for your business. So then after that, it goes to what I call the main course. And so we kind of graduate from the entree to the main course once you've actually had someone go through your funnel and turn out a customer that they were in. So once we know that if someone friendly comes to our site and they kind of go through that process and turn out to be a client, then we want to go to the main course and start really scaling that up. So we look at what are the different ways you can scale that up very quickly and get a large volume of people. Just to give you a few examples, I did a webinar for a client that was a nutritionist. We got 8,000 people to register for the webinar because we went through this whole process, got it right, and just smashed it and scaled it up. I put 30,000, 40,000 people through live events, tens of thousands of books. So I'm very, very good at once you've got that going to scale that up quite quickly and to get good results. But then finally, the thing that we cover in the course is, yes, you might have all these inquiries coming through, so you might have everyone downloading your book or inquiring online or coming to your webinar or to your events, but what do you do with those leads? How do you kind of get those guys to buy? And so what I've also done is set up very good sales teams for different businesses. And so what we cover in the course is a really good process and a very scaled process for setting up a sales team that can scale. So most companies in Silicon Valley use an inside-outside kind of process, and we kind of go through that Silicon Valley model in the course. So that's those are all things that we cover, and I know that a lot of people haven't got, you might be working by yourself, so you might be thinking, oh, what sales team? That's cool, maybe you're the sales team to start with, so we start with you, and then we show you the structure in place, how to get the next person on board, and then what that team ends up looking like. But happy to answer any of your questions about your business and anything about sales funnels when the questions start.
Thanks, Robbie. I think we're going to go, it's got burning questions. I was thinking go through each of these guys first and introduce them, and then we'll come back to all your questions. So, next is Chris. So Chris, is one of my biggest challenges as a non-technical founder was recruiting and leading engineers. It's like they are completely different species of people.
But they're okay, aren't they?
They're lovely. Like, how do you know that you've got the right? How do you know that you've got the right person? How do you know that they're making the right decisions? And also, once I had an engineering team, another challenge that I had was how do you take someone who is a really good individual engineer and then help them become a manager and lead a team and scale a team and recruit good people themselves and run like a good an agile process so that everybody's motivated and feel like they're very productive. So I met Chris at Chris was the VP of engineering at High Pages and also built the engineering team. Was part of the engineering team at BigCommerce. And so I'm an expert on recruiting and leading and scaling an engineering team. So this is a person to ask any questions that you might have about hiring engineers. How do you know that your engineers are on track? Or if you are an engineer, how do you transition and plan a career from being an engineer to a leader? So over to you.
Just before I start, who considers themselves technical? Cool. Who's currently working in a technical role? think so my workshop is building, running and scaling engineering teams, and this particular workshop is specifically for technical people. Basically I've built the workshop that I needed 10 years ago. And what I've done is I've put together a culmination of the experiences that I've had since coming out to Sydney, and all the different coffees and mentorees that I've had over the years, and put them together into this workshop. It's one of the hardest things is to actually scale an engineering team successfully. I feel like we're probably one of the most misunderstood creatures, and I think it's fairly safe to say that it's one of the bigger problems I see in businesses is a disconnect between technology and the rest of it. There is a moat, and a big portion of the workshop is about how do you put a bridge over that moat. Communication kind of does this half the time. It's because we're out speaking two different languages. Engineers think logically, right? If this, then that. That's how we like to receive tasks. If you click on that button, it should do that thing. And so when you're thinking like that day in, day out, it kind of becomes who you are if it wasn't already. Maybe that's why you got into it. So when you're an emerging leader, typically you've been a superstar engineer, and over the years you've been very successful as an individual contributor. And then someone goes, you know what, let's build a team around this person. It'll be great. They'll be fine. They'll be great. And going from an engineer to a leader is fundamentally different. There's a big gap there. A lot of people that I have a lot of coffees with people, as it turns out, but a lot of people that I have coffees with, it's not an uncommon story to hear that they feel like there's been a gap between, yes, I may be an engineering manager now, but I was an engineer 3 years ago. I don't know how I got from here to here, and I don't know what I don't know either. And there's all these different things and different scenarios that come up. So one of the points of the workshop is to put together a framework. There's about 40 plus different models in the framework, and it just gives you a set of tools to be able to do your job better. It ties it back to a technical origin, so you can you have an affinity to the model, but then also teaches you how to translate it into the rest of the business. It's also not uncommon for any technical co-founders here. Cool. It's not uncommon for someone to go from working somewhere and then all of a sudden being thrown into a startup that maybe they've co-founded something. The expectations on you are very different from what your previous role was, and you're going to be talking to investors, you're going to be talking about patents, you're going to be talking about finance, all these different things that you may not have necessarily been exposed to in the past, and we tie a lot of that up. It's easier to hire people when you're working in a big organisation. How do you do it when it's just you and you need to hire your first engineer, your second engineer? How do you grow that to your fifth and then your 50? So it's all encapsulated inside of the workshop. One of my favourite phrases, and this is looking back on the last 10 years, is if you're not changing something fundamentally in your business every 6 months, you're probably not growing quick enough. And when I think about the high growth businesses I've been in, that's really been a canary that I've had. Whether it's fundamentally changing the way that you use your process and systems in Jira just because you've now got double the amount of people in the team, or maybe you're fundamentally having to restructure the team and bring in team leaders, which you've never had before. How do I take everyone along for that journey? Maybe I've promoted someone internally, maybe I've brought someone in. All of these scenarios we cover, that are all the same set of tools, just a different way of applying to each of these situations. But yeah, fundamentally changes something every 6 months is like the thing that I look for.
Anyway, up next is Mark. So Mark is the guru at digital marketing. So Showpo, how many of you know Showpo? Sure that. So Showpo is an incredible success story in e-commerce. They have 3 million social media followers. They grew the business from social media and is now one of the largest e-commerce businesses in the country, all done with no external funding. So an amazing story, an amazing digital marketing story. So Mark has created a program. What I love about these programs is that you would never learn about things like the changes that Facebook have just made to their newsfeed. How can you take advantage of that? Any digital marketing course isn't going to be able to cover that because they've got to create this curriculum, they train these trainers, and then they train you. Whereas Mark is what they're doing at Showpo about the changes that Facebook have made to their newsfeed. So it's like a super current, bleeding edge, skills and information. So I will pass over.
Has anyone seen any of Showpo's ads or videos or anything? We've got a male-dominated audience, so I'm not expecting too many hands up.
Late night TV.
Late night TV? Oh, those ads years ago. Did you see some of them? Okay. So I'm disappointed that there's a couple of young. Are you good to put your hand up? Okay, good. Thank you. Because I don't know your age, but you're probably in our demographic. I was very disappointed. Yeah. But if you do see our ads and videos, you see lots of pretty girls dancing around and doing stupid things. Is that kind of what you see, really? Which does actually happen quite a lot of the office. And a lot of people think that's what marketing is. It's, I don't know what my friends think I do if I'm like behind a camera taking photos of models or something like that. I assure you I'm not doing that. One of my kind of unstated goals, and I think Jane, our CEO, would probably be offended if I said this in front of her, that is to actually make marketing really boring. Because marketing, it's an engine. But the less I get involved in the day-to-day, the happier I am, because we've got this engine and it just churns customers through, it just churns revenue. It's this process, it's this system you can get up. And that system is different for every company. There is no formula. I can't say, here is a textbook, chuck this on your business, and you're going to make $10 million. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can show you a set of tools, I can show you some processes, I can show you some ideas of how to get some maximum out of those tools. Like Rebecca was saying, Facebook's a huge channel for Showpo. For a lot of customers, a lot more businesses, it's not a big channel. And Rebecca was saying, the Facebook algorithm's just changed, and we're kind of working out how to respond to that. We've got some smart people thinking about that. But it's really about creating these processes and creating these tools. If you come by my desk, I'm likely to have on my screen Excel or Google Analytics. That's what you get to see on my screen. Or email, unfortunately. 70-80% of the time, because that's where my head is. I'm trying to see how can we measure this, how can we improve this, how can we get this system and tweak it and modify it to maximize it. So a lot of it's very boring, and when I look at the numbers, you see all these sexy, fun things. We do these collaborations and stuff like that. They don't move the needle that much on sales, to be honest. And they're fun, and there's lots of good reasons for doing them, but it's part of reinforcing our brand values and that sort of thing, which is an important thing to do. I'm not disparaging that for a second. In fact, we're trying to do more of that. But if you're a startup, I'm guessing most people here are kind of pre startup or kind of early stage. You don't have a lot of time. You need revenue and you need it now. Is that kind of a fair assumption? And so you don't have enough time to kind of mess around with kind of doing brand strategies and stuff like that. You need a system that can work and that's adaptable, because I've consulted lots of startups over the years, and one thing I know is they change really, really fast. What your business model is now might be completely different in 2 weeks' time, or your approach or your customer base. You've gone from mid-tier to enterprise, or you've just changed something. And so you need. So basically, what my course is focused on is having a set of tools. And so it's a toolbox, and you think, okay, we can use this tool now, we can use this tool now. And it's also about how to kind of glue them together and kind of make something that works as a whole. The whole should be greater than the sum of the parts. And we're doing questions in a second, I think.
Cool. Thank you. And I guess my area of expertise, the area that I kind of like to talk about is capital raising. And most founders when they hear think about capital raising, hate capital raising, but I, for some bizarre reason, really love the process of capital raising. It's been like throughout my past couple of businesses, I've raised around $15 million from 120 different investors, which is not what you should aim for, but it does mean that through that process, I made pretty much every single mistake that you could possibly make. But what I like about it, capital raising is a process, right? It's a sales funnel, essentially. There's a really fun part at the beginning. You get to establish your network. You get to kind of create the funnel. You get to build your pitch deck. And we certainly go through things like how do you find the right investors for you? How do you build that sales funnel? How do you get the introductions that you need? How do you create a compelling pitch deck? And the way that I do my pitch deck, I go through what's worked for me. And my pitch decks, which is quite different to what you're going to get from the cookie cutter pitch deck school stuff. I'll go through like this is the page where you close and things. That stuff is actually quite easy. The really hard part of capital raising is closing. So I'm sure many of you know other entrepreneurs, if not yourself, that have been just about to close their round. And have been just about to close their round for years, and then maybe do, maybe never do. You don't want to get stuck in that just about to close, or we have a whole lot of interest, but we haven't quite closed situation, because you'll never get out of it. And I like the phrase, which is that nobody is going to say yes today if they think they can say yes next week. So we spend a lot of the course actually going through the art of closing, which is, when you get it right, like actually like really interesting and quite fun. So we go through how do you negotiate, what are all the different terms that an investor is going to ask for, what will that mean for you long term, what are the different terms that you should ask for, and what do they mean, why, how do you negotiate those terms. We do mock negotiations, so you get to be the investor and the startup. And then we also really focus on things like how do you drive momentum around your deal, how do you make it so that an investor doesn't feel like they can say yes next week, that you actually do create this kind of crescendo moment where you close and you get your deal done. So that's my course. It's actually really fun. At the end of the day, you come out pumped about pricing campaign because I find it a really fun process. But yeah, I'm happy to take any questions that you have about capital raising, investors you might, terms you might be thinking about as we go through questions as well. So I'll get everybody back up, and then we'll take hopefully some of your questions from what actually move forward. Can you still see us?
Yes, I'm like this. Looks like.
Okay. Hopefully on any of those topics or more, any other just general startup topics as well, we're also happy to answer. So yeah.
It's to do with employing technical engineers. That's you, sorry.
Sorry, we're wearing a black and white here.
So I've got a team in India, and there's very limited conversations that we have, and it's very hard working with them. And I think it would be better to bring them to actually recruit someone over here, but the price gap is absolutely huge. So it'd be lovely to have a team, affordable team here in Sydney. But regarding blockchain, is that something that you'd expect like blockchain technology is a fundamental part of my startup? Is that something that the average engineer should know about?
I thought there was two questions there, but okay, so let's start maybe with where your engineers are and
Yeah, well,
the relationship there, and then I'll come back to blockchain.
well, yeah, I can probably talk about that later. More blockchain is more
Okay.
important, I guess.
Let me summarise blockchain. I don't think we know what blockchain is yet, despite knowing what it is. What I mean by that is we're exploring, like there's a lot of universities currently researching
Yeah.
the use of blockchain and how it can change things. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think there is probably something in the crypto space. I think there is probably something in the supply chain space that seems to make a lot of decentralizing data and distributing it
Yeah.
is really interesting. I don't know that we know the impact of those things yet.
So it's too
And-
early.
So just to take a step back, I've spent 2 months in blockchain and talking about ICOs and all the different things that community talks about. And I
Yeah.
think it could actually make a lot of sense. For me, I couldn't make the economics work quite right just for me today. That's okay.
Right.
But from the different people that I speak to, there are definitely experts here in Australia.
There are.
There are, and they're also in the US as well, amongst other places around the world. But it kind of feels like a go all in or don't go in at all space. It's just my observations. I'm not a blockchain expert. This is just from speaking.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
people
no,
about it.
that's okay.
To give you an idea, so I started up a year ago and I've been building my infrastructure with blockchain in mind. There's a lot of similarities, from a design point of view. So at some point I can sort of do that when it makes sense. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does actually. It helps me realise that it's probably a little bit, you can probably not expect my Indian team to know too much about
Well,
it.
it depends, right? So I'm still bootstrapping my business myself. So there's like the short-term play and the long-term play because you need cash flow and you need to invest in the future.
Yeah.
In my mind, blockchain is still an R&D activity, but I think it's something that can change. So it's something that can do one of these things probably very rapidly. And it's what I'm excited about is that it's a common nomenclature now. You hear crypto, even though that still means cryptography to me, but crypto is cryptocurrency, right? Blockchain is it's becoming part of our language. So
Yes.
that big hurdle of jumping from 0 to 1 with something as fundamentally disruptive as blockchain is and cryptocurrencies has the gaps starting to close. That moat is the bridge is coming down.
No,
So that's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
Are some startups using the word blockchain because it helps them get conversations with different investors? Maybe. I don't know. But we're definitely in that infancy stage, I would suggest. There are experts here that if you do want to speak to them, you can.
Well, I'd like to know where they are.
Intro through intro.
Yeah, exactly.
I end up sitting down with someone who's actually done 2 different ICOs already.
Right.
Through Ethereum. It's just a sort of, I didn't know how to think about it. And so by the end of the conversation, I did know how to think about it. And it's probably just as much effort as an IPO if you do it properly. Like it can be, I want to do it well, whatever that means. I didn't know what well meant yet.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I was wondering if I might just add a little bit on.
Yeah, sure.
The head of the ISO standards organisation, which is standardising on the blockchain, is a UTS professor by the name of Philippa Ryan. Okay, and she got the role because Australia's a non-threatening little country, and all the other big guys said, "Well, you can do that." And she's very, very smart. She's a lawyer background. I had a conversation with her. China is all in on blockchain, absolutely all in. So something will happen. But to your point, it does not scale. But the troubles with Bitcoin are only going to get worse going forward. It's going to become economic that they have to sort some problems out.
My gut feel for what 10 years time will look like is it will be some hybrid of what we think blockchain is today and what today looks like.
Yes.
To make all the economics work.
Also, I should say that blockchain, Bitcoin, altcoins, and ICO are absolutely different things. And today we see Bitcoin based on technology named blockchain. Prove that blockchain technology as a not database, just some technology to store some decentralized teeny data, like transactions. Bitcoin proved that technology does work, but at the same time, Bitcoins and other altcoins based on blockchain technologies such as Ethereum, NEM or Neo, and blah blah blah, they became just some financial things, manipulative things, something like Forex. But
Sorry, that makes me rude, but did you have a question? Or
no, I tried
we
to.
may have a discussion offline.
Oh, we could have a chat later. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that makes me rude, but just not a question today.
You had a question?
Mine is less of a question and more admitting that I'm quite rude, and I've forgotten each of your names, so if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, sure. I'm Rebecca.
Yep.
Rob.
Chris.
And Mark.
Mark. Chris, I have a question for you. So you speak about engineering teams. What's the benefit of an engineering team rather than saying more cross-disciplinary? And do you think that maybe engineering is a special space where, and third piece, is there maybe complementary skills if you were to try and cross-disciplinise an engineering team? What other complementary skills would you add?
Yeah, good question. So my workshop is not purely engineering focused. So for example, tech PMs, product managers are a target audience for it as well. I'm a big advocate for cross-functional teams because I think if you can afford it, depending on the size of your business, you get a lot more value and you kind of get the checks and balances that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise. Saying that, I've created and worked in environments where it's purely functional and then they work together. And I think to a degree, depending on the business, one may work better than the other. But I'm definitely an advocate for cross-functional teams. When I hire my first 3 people, is it going to be a cross-functional team? Probably not. I'll probably be looking for more cross-functional people, more like full-stack employees rather than full-stack engineers or specialists. So it probably depends, but that's definitely something we cover in the workshop. We even talk about the remote versus local versus outsourced.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
So, could you define what you mean by full stack employee?
Yeah, so Chris Messina, the guy who invented the hashtag Twitter, wrote this really excellent blog post on Medium called The Full Stack Employee. And I think I'm going to get probably some nodding to my left and my right. When I see cross-functional teams working well, it's because engineers think like the PM and the designer and the finance person that's involved in that team. And so over time they made this term cross-pollinate their domains within each other. And so let me take one step back. So I think that there is 3 modes. My hypothesis is that an engineer can be in one of 3 modes. They can be in build mode, maintenance mode, or growth mode. And I think the growth mode engineer is misunderstood, generally speaking, by the other 2 types. And I think that an engineer will have a natural affinity with one of those 3 modes, but over time we will learn how to do the other ones. So,
Oh, no, you were just defining what you meant by full stack employee.
yeah, so a growth engineer typically will think more like the business, like what are the 3 things that I'm going to change today that are going to move our metric by 2%. So by full stack engineering, you're not just an expert in your thing, that's just the beginning of you. You're now actually 70% in this business and 30% skilled engineer collectively. A great way to think of it is like an expert generalist.
That's the sort of person you're looking for as like a leader in the company.
Maybe. I think if you're at the startup stage, you're probably looking for the full stack asterisks with every hire that you're making. But as you get bigger and bigger, you tend to get more specialists. Leaders generally, from technology, leaders generally have additional armor to their I'm an engineer toolkit. A lot of which we cover in the workshop. But yeah, it's about being more than just one type. It's about being expert generalist.
Just actually got two questions. One is an engineering question. I'm an engineer. I've worked in many different team sizes, many different organisations, and I'm interested in your opinion on team size because, in my experience, smaller is better. Just generally, I've been in teams which up to 60 people, and there's a lot of there's a lot of slacking off and they've reached a certain point. They say the 8 is the ideal sort of size for various things, but in my opinion, I've seen 3, 4 is kind of ideal for most things. So you take a project and you break it down into sort of bite-sized pieces of that kind of size. So I'm just interested in your perspective on that, and just in marketing, maybe I'll class that now. Just when you're trying to actually categorise your sort of market demographics and target demographics, what are the kind of tools you use to get the information, the real information? What do you use? Google AdWords. How would you, if you came with a new product, where would you start assembling the information you need to actually correctly define your target market?
Oh, okay, sure. It's a good question. The simple answer is, depends if you've got an existing audience or you're just starting from scratch. Do you have an audience already?
Yeah, but let's just say it's more closer to scratch than otherwise.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well, I'll answer both questions anyway.
Okay.
So if you've got an existing audience, a really, really easy, cheap way to get data is you can just look into some Google tools, and they'll tell you, very basic information like age, gender, location, all that sort of stuff. There are some tools where some Google tools where you can get that information on competitors as well. So, and you have to use competitors in the term of the people who are competing for your customers. I used to do consulting to Cathay Pacific, and they used to get into big debates over where, they say, no, Expedia's not a competitor. It's like, yeah, they are. They really are. They're chasing the same dollars. And so that's one side of the thing. Now, having said that, that data is kind of has the appearance of usefulness. Where people tend to look at a lens through numbers a little bit too much, and I say this as a numbers geek. I've worked in marketing. I got this job. I was a programmer many years ago, and I'm a big fan of talking to people. You cannot underestimate the value of talking to people. You really, really, really can't. I think that's probably in my Eternity workshop. I think the longest or second longest session is about essentially how to talk to people.
How do you get enough range of people to cover, full demographic?
You'd be surprised. There's kind of this myth that you need to talk to 1,000 people or something to get that. You can get useful information from, and I'm not just saying this in a very flippant way. There's a lot of statistical background behind this. You can get useful information from quite a small set of people. Obviously, better samples can be better. It depends what sort of information you're after. We just went through a process at Showco just kind of over the last quarter of last year, where we've never actually done a proper kind of who actually is our customer. I mean, we know our customers really well, so we had a mountain load of fairly good anecdotal information, but we've never done a proper research project, so I commissioned some people to do that. And they looked at a number of sources. They spoke to our customers, they mined our data, they did some quantitative research, and came back, and we got some really powerful insights out of that, some actionable insights. Have I answered your question?
Yeah. Yes. Unless you've got any more to add.
Oh, lots, but no. Segmentation is breaking down your customer base is a favourite subject of mine. It's horribly done in the digital space where people think in digital marketing, because it's so easy to segment by numbers, that's what people do. And it's not a particularly good way to segment. If you go back to the old school marketing of Procter & Gamble, they've got a lot to learn from the digital world, we've got a lot to learn from them about how to understand your customers properly, and that's been completely lost in the digital space.
What do you mean by segment by numbers?
You go into Google Analytics or AdWords or some other data tool, and you say our customers are this age and this gender and come from this location and are landing on this page or whatever. And the numbers are really, really good at telling you what people do, and they're absolutely appalling at telling you why people do it. I'll give you an example. I was doing some research for Dinix a couple of years ago, and one of their business goals was to drive people into their stores, because they have a website, they're trying to sell online, but they're trying to drive people into stores. Long story why that's their business, but that's what it was. And so they had, you go to a book page and there's a, is this in your local store, type in your postcode, find a thing, like a lot of those websites have. And we looked at the data and we saw that people were coming in and they were using this and, had all, fancy tracking set up, and they were typing in, my postcode's 2010, bang, bang, on a store, and the data said, people coming in, looking at it, browsing and then leaving the page. And thought, great, good result. When we actually started watching people using the site, there was actually a bug affecting about 30% of users. And people coming and saying, where the hell is this thing? This sucks, and then shutting the browser down. That's the difference. Google told us what they were doing, didn't tell us why they were doing it. And then getting into marketing segmentation, that's all another round to itself.
I'll just on the engineering question.
Oh, sorry. So what was the max size of a team, essentially?
Yeah, what's the efficient size of the team?
I find 5 is typically a good number for a cross-functional team. For me, if you've got 60 people working on a outcome, that's actually a good thing, as long as they're in smaller teams all working towards that common goal. And then I talk a lot about OKRs and vision, mission, company goals, product technology goals, and how to actually tie them all in together, because it often gets missed. But if you've got the alignment right, then about 5 people.
Because that 60 team I was involved with didn't do well. They actually lost their contract initially. So I'm not saying which organisation it was, but it's not going anyway. So
it's harder to turn 60 people sprinting in one direction to another direction than it is 11, 12 teams of 5.
Yeah.
You get a lot more. I don't like the word agile anymore. Nimble. You're a lot more nimble.
Can I use organiser's privilege? And then I respect you've got to. I think that man just beat you out the back, but I'll go first, second, and third. I will. My one's for Robert. So let's say you've got a startup that is pitching to professionals. Oh, actually, it doesn't matter about who you're pitching to, but it's a complex product. So there's an assumption that you need to demo it or you need to talk people through the sales process. Your customer lifetime value is great, but there's a longer sales cycle than just directs and sign in on the page. How do you know whether you should be going to trade shows, whether you should be getting on the phone and doing sales stuff, door-to-door sales of professional service people and showing them with a laptop and demos, coffee meetings?
Yeah.
How do you balance the type of sales?
Yeah, no, really fantastic question. And getting that wrong can really kill a business. Can kill a business real fast. So essentially the lifetime value of that client and how complex it is determines on how far the path you need to go down in terms of whether it's face-to-face, manual. So at the very low end, so if you've got a very low lifetime value, we're talking like $100, $300, you just got to sell it online. You can't afford to have a salesperson pick up the phone, doing $50 a day, trying to get through 3 people and only closing 1. That guy's going to just kind of keep going. Just kind of pay his wage if he's lucky. So you can't do that. Really, like to get a salesperson involved, really want a sale price of about $2,000 and above. Yeah, anything less than $2,000, you really got to try and sell through digital to kind of make numbers work. And the higher the price, the better it all stacks up. So, like, if you can ever get an enterprise version of the product where you're talking at $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, you can do all of the above because you've got budget to do it. But when you've got a very low price point, you have to use very scaled methods. One way to kind of bridge that gap, so if it's like a $2,000 price point, you can run things like this. Okay, so you can sell in a leverage way by having an event or a webinar or an online demo where you still have a bit of that interaction, but you're doing a lot of people at the same time.
Engaging with customers, as you said, you found it Yes and no. It is something we do look at, comments. The downside to comments is you tend to attract your most passionate and your most aggressive users, and you tend to miss the entire kind of middle thing, which makes up 80% of the user base. You know, I hesitate to use the term silent majority. So yeah, I see. I mean, getting from this tangent, I see a lot of products that end up, you know, getting so many features because they're focusing on the 5% of very vocal high power users and ignoring the 95% of kind of regular users. Yeah, we do look at it, but it's only one important.
I was actually wondering if it was the 5%, but yes, a lot of the started wrong percent of speaker.
Yeah, yeah, we do a lot of that sort of work. You know, we're going out proactively talking to customers. Absolutely, so that.
My question is a combination for you, Mark, and you've sort of touched this already. A lot of discussions Mark's been centered principally around B2C type businesses, and I was wondering if you comment on the salient difference from your perspectives about the difference between B2C and B2B enterprise, and particularly enterprise SaaS businesses that tend to have like sell through or white labeling as part of the business model.
Yeah. Do you want me to crack on it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
So this business is an enterprise B2B SaaS platform. So essentially, so what we do in this business is we've got a very structured way of setting up the sales team. So we've got what I call an SDR, a sales development representative, and their job is just to qualify leads all day.
Yep.
So they mine out, they've got inbound leads, they do outbound. Their job is to set 3 to 5 booked appointments a day for the BDM component. So then there's a business development manager, and they're just doing demos. So they don't cold call, they don't prospect, they don't follow up, they just do demos and close. And so having that enterprise, that's the best way to do an enterprise sales team, because you're dividing the labour. So the SDR is a lower cost person, the BDM is an expensive person. You don't want a 6-figure BDM cold calling. You can't afford to have that resource doing that. But a lot of businesses still do that. They say, hey, Jim, you're the BDM, you're on 6 figures, here's your patch. You know, here's your block of clients. You've got to go and sell them. And so you've got a 6-figure guy or girl just spending a lot of time prospecting, whereas this is much more efficient. You've got lower cost labour, booking the appointments, qualifying the people, and then the BDM's just a person time of closing.
Yeah, no, that's good points. I mean, fundamentally, marketing is marketing. And you know, I've done lots of B2B. I used to be head of online for Microsoft Australia. In the past, then head of online for Microsoft for LexisNexis APAC, which is all B2B, and you know, LexisNexis is kind of sassy. Yeah, and honestly, it's about 70-80% the same as selling dresses to 20-year-old girls. About 30% of you, but.
My question is, from an engineering perspective, a salesman's job is almost entirely foreign because it requires pretty much 100% paper space. So, how would, I guess, you approach getting your first customer if you're building a technical company and you have to approach someone who's not technical? I guess it's a very broad question. Where would you start to address someone? How would you approach someone saying, this is my product, this is what I want to sell, this is how I'm going to help you?
Yeah. So you're talking like a technical person and trying to sell to a non-technical, essentially. Yeah. So we, I think there's a lot of different words for it, like user validation and things like that. So we've been doing this a lot in our business. So we've got a new product line, like a new product we're trying to sell. So it's a completely new target market, new offering. But we're being very, very transparent, very open. People saying, hey, look, here's what the report looks like. Can you tell us about what you're doing at the moment? How do you kind of get this started? Like, oh, we do this, cool. What are the payments associated with that? Like, okay, that. And then we show them what we're thinking, and then we ask them a few questions about what the features are and also what they'd be prepared to pay for something like that. So this is the thing though, everyone's always scared to ask that question, what would you be happy to pay? Because a lot of people are quite happy to demo the product and say, hey, here's our report, but then they won't say, well, you know, what kind of price do you think is reasonable for this? Yeah, they chicken out. Like even my head of innovation chickens out of that question. It was a snorkel question to ask.
I've got to ask, surely you've done a value to the customer and the pricing architecture based on that. Didn't you know how much your customer is going to save or make on the basis
No,
of this?
definitely not. No, because, okay, I'll give you an example. So I did 3 of these calls today with 3 different clients about this new report. And I asked 4 questions. So I asked them firstly, at what price you think this product is so expensive that you wouldn't even consider it? So that's an easy question. And I goes, $5,000. I'd never consider it at $5,000. And I say, okay, well, what price would be so cheap that you think this wouldn't be good value? And they'll go, okay, $10. And then I say, okay, well, what price would it be? It'd still feel a bit expensive, but you'd still consider it. But you have to think about it because it's a lot. And then you kind of get in over, and then you say, well, what price would be a great deal? And so basically by going through those questions, we've got a nice range of what's ridiculously cheap, what's way too expensive, and then some middle ground. I got very different answers from 3 people.
Did they all have the same understanding of your offering?
Exactly the same, just copy and paste. It could have been a computer. So you can't assume, you really can't assume that you know what the price is, what you think the right price is. Yeah. And so we're running this exercise with dozens of people just to make sure we get our pricing right, and the feature set right. Because again, some want different features, So we show, because they go, I'd pay $100 for that, but I only need that page. I don't need the other 20 pages. So again, really, like you mentioned, like just talking to the people is huge. Yeah.
It's funny, we went through the exact same process. That's the Van Westendorp pricing model that you described.
Yeah,
have I got the name right? I never remember it.
Price intelligently.
Yeah, there's actually a name for it, some German academic, and we went through literally the exact same questions with a bunch of customers. But what's a dress worth? $20? $2,000? You tell me. I don't know, it's very subjective. You go into one shop and there's a men's business shirt for $30. You go to the next shop, it's a men's business shirt for $500. What's the difference? And so we ask the same questions, and we ask literally the exact same questions, and you plug that in, you get a couple hundred people doing it, there's an analysis that come out and tells you this is your price.
Because I'd love to do business with you guys, work you over for 20 seconds with that approach. I think what the previous guy was saying is that the pricing based on value added has got to be a lot more better than just, choosing a midpoint of, someone's own expectation of cheap versus expensive. And that's it's just too simplistic, be honest with you.
I think the question though was around being a tech person, how do I not 100% comfortable with speaking with people the same way the salesperson would be? How do I start? I think it's probably a bit of an icebreaker.
Yeah.
It's that I got to admit, it's that honesty component that an engineer feels very comfortable with.
Yeah.
Though a salesman may not take the first approach.
Yeah, and then so in that conversation, you're not trying to sell anything. And that's why an engineer can be better at that first conversation than a salesperson. Because a salesperson is like, I'm going to try to close this deal, what are the objections? It's like, no, it's not about that. You just need to understand, and really know where they're at. So that's cool.
Can I have an exciting priority interrupt? For the first time in NSI in history, we've got a question off Facebook Live. So someone watching out there is asking to Robert, can you give us some examples, or from anyone that the panel's seen, of startup founders who have hustled sales like you've never seen, like their just life is sales, like inspirational startup hustlers?
Yeah. There's a guy, there's a software called Closed.io, and it's like an online CRM, and the guy's name is Stelly. I can't remember his surname, but that guy is a legendary sales hustler, like a startup hustler. So yeah, Closed.io is a good one to check out.
Okay, I'll answer that on Facebook.
Cool.
I would say also Jane from Shoko in the very early days. She set up that company. She was, I think it was a well-known story, but her parents didn't know that she wasn't working full-time in her job, so she went and worked out of a cafe every day and used Instagram and Facebook to build a following around this new business that she started. So it's an incredible story of someone just hustling by themselves to get their first kind of customer in the door.
Yeah, she's not scared to pick up the phone and talk to customers even today. Her parents do know now.
So we've got time for a few more questions. I just wanted to make a couple of points. One was we've given you out these pamphlets, which outlines not all of our courses, but a bunch of the programs that you might want to do. We have the promo code that is like, there's heaps of others that we're not going to talk about tonight, but like, for example, this one is our legal vision. So if any of you have legal questions, they do a day worth of your first year of legals in one day. So you get, at the end of the day, you have your shareholders agreement, your founders agreement, your website terms and conditions, your privacy policy, and there's others as well. They do them all in the one day, and it's like $320, and you get to actually talk it through with the co-founder of Legal Vision. And there's a bunch more as well, so I won't go into all of them. But it's like Mike Knapp, who's the co-founder of Choose and Pray, How to Accelerate Your Startup. So I have left, this says January 31st, but if you go onto Zambezi.com, or when you get into Eventbrite, if you enter that code, that one, enter that code GROWTH in capital letters, it'll give you the same discount. So and that will work until 9:30 tonight. So if anyone wants to do any of the courses, I think they all, I'm pretty sure it works on all of them, all of these guys or any of the others. So if you do want to do any of those programs, go through, when you get through to Eventbrite, enter GROWTH as the discount, as the promo code, and it will give you the discount until 9:30 tonight, or you can fill out the form and give it to me. Questions? Start here. 1, 2, 3.
So one thing, like how to know what's the right time to look for funding. So when I'm bootstrapping my startup, when I should be thinking about getting some funding and my idea.
Sure. So I made a huge mistake with my first startup, which was I went for funding when I just had an idea and nothing else. And I used a music ticketing platform. And I developed a pitch deck. Turned out it was a really good pitch deck, but I managed to raise $1.472 million, so almost $1.5 million off a PowerPoint deck with nothing, like no team, no proof of concept. It took me a year and a huge amount of meetings, a lot of no's to get that, but I did manage to close that funding, and it turned out probably the biggest mistake that I made in the entire business, because then next thing I did was to hire a whole lot of people, hire engineering team, marketing, everything, and then we had a burn rate before I knew it of kind of $70,000, $80,000 a month, and the idea didn't work. So then I was like, shit, this business model is fundamentally not going to ever be profitable. I now have this team of people that I don't want to let go, a whole lot of investors I don't want to let down, and so I had to then kind of pivot to the next kind of idea that sounded like it was kind of plausible and linked to the first idea, so it just showed it looked like we were making progress. It wasn't something totally new. But then, that idea kind of worked, but then I had to pivot again and again and again, and eventually find my way to a problem that needed to be solved. Whereas, I never got to go back to a blank canvas and go, what is the biggest problem that I can solve? What's the best business model that I can build? So, the lesson is that, is don't raise money too early, but also you don't want to raise too late either, and it's different. And now I'm a founder again of an early stage company and of a family, so I'm in a different position to what you might be in your 20s when you can go for years without a salary. You do need to raise money kind of fairly early on. But I guess the answer would be, once you know that you're on the right track to some extent, I don't like raising money for product market fit. I like to know that I have product market fit and then raise money, capital to grow or to scale. So it doesn't need to be heaps of traction, but for me, like to be able to front up and raise capital and accept people's investment, I like to know that I'm on the right track, and that if I do this, this, and this with that money, it's very likely that it's going to go the way that it's expected. It never goes exactly as expected, but give you as much proof as you can, even if it's with a small group of people. Question back here.
Rebecca, can you just talk a little bit about the different types of investors and why you would target particular types of investors?
Sure. So there's the obvious one would be family and friends, that very early seed. That's often your first to 200K to help you get going, and that's just a bunch of friends putting in some money to get going. I really think about raising capital as the next stage, which is when you're going out to professional angel investors or high net worth investors. That generally is around 250 to up to 1.5 million, and then the VCs come in at 1 plus, but generally in a stage that would be somewhere between 1 and 5 million. One question I get asked a lot is, do we want if we're doing an angel round, do we want a VC in our angel round? So often great VCs like to write $100,000 to $200,000 checks into a round with a lot of other angels. And I always think that's probably a bad idea, because if they don't follow on, there's an expectation that they will follow on. So if your angels don't follow on in your next round, then people expect that because they're angel investors. They expect to invest once. But if you've got a VC in that first round and then they don't participate in the next one, that's a very bad sign to other investors, and it can make it really difficult for you to raise your next round. So you actually end up giving a huge amount of power to that VC who was in the very early stages. Does that answer your question?
Another question for you, Rebecca. I'm curious, with HeyU, what would be your, let's go, top 3 mistakes that you would say, and it can be related to investors if you like, but yeah, curious about that, and also since I used it in its very early days as well, I'm curious about how you address stigmas from coffee shops and how you brought those customers to come to you, basically. We're talking about that.
Sure. Top 3 mistakes. There's so many mistakes I think about afterwards. I think raising capital too early was a big one. We underestimated, both me and my co-founder, but I'm naturally very optimistic people. I think most founders are naturally optimistic, otherwise you wouldn't do this, right? It's crazy. You think that you can. So when we went out, we probably should have built. Had I been looking for a co-founder, I would have looked for someone who's a bit of balance for me, who has a different way of looking at things and different skill set. We're both salespeople, which means we get along great, but we had blind spots as a team. And one of them was when we went out and raised our Series A round, we had these growth projections that were we thought were really quite realistic. I mean, we thought we pared them back from what we thought was optimistic, but we kind of had one sales guy, and we knew that he could sign up a certain number of cafes every week, for example. And so we thought, okay, if we have 10 sales guys, we'll raise a bunch of money, then they'll be able to sign up 10 times that. But we didn't bake in things to the model like it takes a while to recruit people. Not everybody's going to start on day one, right? And then it takes a while for people to ramp up. Like that first sales guy wasn't selling that number of cafes on day one. It takes 3 or 4 months to get to that kind of level. Sales teams take holidays, or they have days where they're sick, or they're at a team event. So we had everybody on 100% all the time. So we had these very, in hindsight, very optimistic projections, and then we didn't hit them, and I think that kind of freaked out our investors and put a lot of pressure onto us as a business. Even though, we look back at what we achieved, which was again amazing. In that kind of 18 months or 2 years, we went from 15,000 transactions a day to almost 20,000 transactions a day. But because we had over-promised, all everybody saw was what you haven't done as opposed to what you have done. So
setting up lower expectations.
I think, really be, if you're going to, I would try and avoid setting kind of such tight, immediate targets that you can miss. But if you have to, really try and under-promise and over-deliver. So that's a really big mistake, because that puts a huge amount of pressure on a team. You kind of, when you're getting great momentum, you're not feeling the momentum, you're feeling the business. And other mistakes, I think I also spent way too much time trying to do big partnerships with large companies, and like some of those partnerships kind of did yield some results. But if I look at the return on meetings of trying to do deals with lots of large media companies, or we had a big deal with Westpac, airlines. A lot of it turns out to be a waste of time because like the amount of time that those companies can commit to having lots of meetings with you and planning, they feel like it's a sexy thing and it's really exciting. For you, like for us, it's a massive proportionate to our company size, it's a massive investment, and often doesn't go anywhere. So I think next company, this company, it's like no partnerships, just
and is this tiers of investors that you sort of would stick to at certain levels within the business? You would only stick to certain levels of investors, so you wouldn't go for those big partnerships.
Yeah, I would just carve my own. Look at companies like Canva, right? And I'm convincing to them about this partnerships. I don't think I've done any partnerships. I've just like built a great product and kind of carved their own path, which I think is a much better way to grow than to be looking for a silver bullet, which often doesn't come, and will probably like backfire and kill you at the same time as you're chasing it.
Zambezi then. So, how have you managed to bring together this harem of very talented and generous people at such an early stage? How have you managed to attract other people to the idea, I guess?
Well, so this wasn't supposed to be my idea. I actually had another idea that I was chasing. I wanted to do something in the future of workspace because I thought that was a problem area that was really interesting. And if I could solve a problem in that area, then I could contribute and build something important. So I was working on something else, and at the same time, I was running workshops on how to raise capital. So I just built my own website and tried to market them. And I did this for quite a while, and I love taking workshops, but I found it was impossible, like really hard to get customers because I was just out there on my own, trying to sell my little workshop, and so kind of hustling, getting this almost full-time job, getting everybody I knew to refer me customers. And at the same time, I had friends like Mike at Choosing Prey, who was in a similar position to me. He just left Choosing Prey, and he wanted to teach because he was getting asked to have coffee all the time. And he's just like, I can't really help people at a coffee meeting. I want to spend a day, have a structured program, and I also need to earn like, not a huge income, but I need to be able to support myself. So it needs to be something that works, that's fair for everyone. And so he originally had the idea of, can I take on to your workshops? And then I thought there must be some marketplace where we can promote our workshops. And I looked everywhere and I couldn't find them. And I was like, this is crazy because this is the future of education, right? I was doing a little bit at UCS, and I remember the Vice Chancellor said to me, we're talking about the future of UCS, and he said, if we were building UCS today, then it'd be very different to the way it was designed 30 years ago. But we've got what we've got. We've got the big infrastructure, they've got all these staff. And I thought, well, if you were designing a university today, what would it look like? It's like, I think it would look a bit like my workshops, really. It'd be experts who are really passionate about their subject, who have kind of current skills, who people want to learn from, who can link like what they're teaching to the real world. And it would be a marketplace. It would be done in co-working spaces, and it would be very transparent. There would be reviews. So yeah, that was, I guess, like I want to design the next great global university that's doing for education what Airbnb did for South Control. And these guys are like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to have words on that topic? What brings you?
I like doing it. It's a good way to get out. I mean, it's a cliche, but I learn a lot from doing it.
So I think how do we make it do it? Like just like in the workplace, good people know good people who want to work with more good people, and vice versa. When you see, is it 20 workshops now?
Yeah, 25.
When you see the breadth, like you can just imagine that's like an ultimate startup of people. Like, but yeah. Okay.
we like to helping. Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like you can really, like someone just, who was in my course in November just messaged me last week saying they closed it around. And it was like, yeah, use my stuff. It's really awesome.
Cool. Maybe we can chat, have a hang around a bit and chat if you've got any questions, one-on-ones. Yeah, hope to see you guys in the workshop.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully we'll see